Are you wondering if you're blocking your spiritual growth? Or maybe you'd like to know what spiritual growth really is. Hi, I'm Deepa Lou. I'm the Creative Mystic, and today, Mother of Creativity volunteered to give a message on spiritual growth. So let's get going. Now, you might be wondering, am I blocking my spiritual growth? Or what do I need to do for spiritual growth? So we're going to check in with her. I've asked her to kind of share on those particular topics because I know that those are the things that most spiritual seekers are wondering and would like help with. And so I'm going to tune into her energy and give you what she has to say. So Mother of Creativity wants to talk to you first about what you do or what you're doing that blocks your spiritual growth. And she says one of the biggest things that blocks your spiritual growth is resistance. Resistance to change, resistance to something new, resistance to that something's going to be different or that they're taking something away from you, but resistance. Anytime you feel that resistance, and how do you recognize when it's resistance, she says, is when all of a sudden you feel like it's hard. You feel like, oh, this is hard, or this is scary, or this is difficult. That's resistance. Because your natural way of being, she's saying, is that if you're in flow. And when you're in that high place of just allowing the spiritual growth to happen, nothing feels hard. Now that doesn't mean that your ego mind won't kick in and that it feels hard at that moment. And sometimes you have to be willing to go, okay, I'm in resistance. When it feels hard, you go, oh, I'm in resistance. And then you want to let me release this resistance. Let me ask, how do I move forward? What's the next step? And so by then connecting with your spirit guides or higher power, whatever you believe, okay, and asking, okay, what's the next step I need to take to overcome this resistance? Because that's one of the things that Mother Creativity wants you to understand, is that one of the other big things that you're doing that blocks your spiritual growth is pretending that you're further along than you are. And so what she means by that is that you have to admit where you are in your spiritual development or in your level of faith at that moment, or if your fear is up. And rather than, a lot of times with law of attraction and this ability of being the creator of your reality, they talk a lot about don't put any energy into negativity. And you don't want to put energy into it and lament over it and fixate and complain. You don't want to do that. But Mother of Creativity wants you to get that when you ignore, try to just push it aside and say, oh, I'm not feeling that way, when you really are, then that is actually going to block your spiritual growth. Because wherever you are, whatever's going on, you have to actually acknowledge it first. Okay, this is what helps you grow spiritually, acknowledging it first, admitting where you are, and then that will determine your next step. And so if you feel resistance coming up, what you want to do is admit, oh, I'm having resistance. And then you tune into your higher power, like Spirit Guide, Mother of Creativity, and you ask, okay, what do I need to do to overcome my resistance? Instead of pretending you're not having it and trying to force your way through it, that's not growing spiritually. Spiritual growth, she's saying, is never about forcing. There's a flow when spiritual growth happens. Now, when you have fear and your ego kicks in, you have to acknowledge that that's what's happening and then connect with your higher guidance, Mother Creativity, your spirit guide, your whatever you believe in your higher power, connect with that and ask the right kinds of questions. So she's saying that if you want to expand on your spiritual growth, you have to access the energy of creativity. And the way you access that energy of creativity is by asking the right kind of question. And she's saying you want to ask a solution-oriented question. Because if you ask, what's wrong with me, and you're not actually connected, your subconscious mind is going to kick in and tell you, what's wrong with you is this. But if you ask a solution-oriented question with the assumption of knowing the spiritual truth that for every problem there is a solution, because just in that being in that energy of that truth, Mother of Creativity is saying that's putting you in the vibration with your higher powers, with your spirit guides, with whatever you believe in is you call your higher power. That energy of, yes, there's a solution, asking a solution-oriented question, which if you don't know what that is, a solution-oriented question is where you ask a question and the desired result you want is in the question. So if, let's just say, you're wanting to overcome the resistance, you don't say, what's wrong with me? Why am I having resistance? That question is going to keep you in your ego. But if you say, okay, Mother of Creativity, what's my next step to overcome my resistance, to be in flow? So that the desired result is you want to be in divine flow, right? So you say, okay, you can say, what's my next step to overcome the resistance and be in divine flow? Because that's what you want, be in the divine flow. You want to overcome the resistance and be in divine flow. Or you could even say, what do I need to do to be in divine flow? And that will take you out of resistance. So she's saying that she's showing up to talk about this topic because creativity, the energy of creativity, connecting with spirit guides that are in the creativity or higher power that's all about the creative power, right? That is what helps you grow spiritually. You can start to do creative projects. Now here's the thing, she's saying when you do creative projects, you have to be careful that you're not in the mind of trying to be good, trying to be great for other people, trying to make it look good so people will love it. You just want to be in the energy of, I'm supposed to create something. And you don't worry about whether that item looks pretty, looks ugly, looks great. It's about just creating, because just creating without judgment, okay, because that judgment shows you that you're in your ego mind again, the same of the resistance and the fears, because all of those can block it if you stay there. Okay, now that's what she wants you to get, is you don't want to look at these emotions as bad. You know, fear or judgment or resistance. You want to look at them as feedback. Because when you look at them as bad, then you are in the ego mind judging yourself. And so she really wants you to get that those emotions are feedback, and then you ask that next solution question, and that's going to help aid your spiritual growth. So what's blocking it, because everybody, I don't want you to think that like, oh, there's something wrong with you because you block it. Everybody who's in a human body blocks their spiritual growth. If they weren't, we would all be enlightened and self-realized right now. So you don't want to look at it like, oh, I'm doing something wrong, just that, oh, this is the natural process. Just like when you're creating something, there's a natural process you have to do. And so Mother Creativity wants you to get into the energy of creating, of just like, what's the process? And she wants me to share with you my process of when I create my spirit guide portals, that sometimes, like even Our Lady of Guadalupe, who I created back there, when I was creating her, I put this gray in the background, and everybody was like, ew, that's ugly. I'm like, don't worry, it's not staying that way. It was part of the process. That gray kind of bleeds through a little bit, and you see it, but you don't see it because then it got covered up. So it just kind of bleeds through a little. And so that in the process of growing spiritually, just like in creating paintings and everything you create, there's an ugly stage where it doesn't look so good. And she wants you to get that. And when that ugly stage happens, just like in your growing spiritually, there's parts of times when you probably go, I'm not looking so good right now, and not as in physical looks, but like where you are emotionally or physically, that's just part of the process. And to like embrace it and then ask that solution question of what that you need to do for that next step of growth, or to let go of the resistance and be in divine flow. And so that's what she really wanted to share with you today about spiritual growth. Now, I would love it if you share with me down in the comments what you're getting from hearing this message, because Mother Creativity really wants you to take her guidance and incorporate it in your life in some way. So how are you going to start asking that solution-oriented question? How are you going to start embracing, like letting go of the judgment and being in just divine flow? And part of that is just using your awareness, she's saying, to like catch yourself and then ask that question. If you'd like to get your own reproduction of a spirit guide portal, please check out my website, deepalu.com. Remember, greatness is within you. It's time to shine your light. I'll see you in the next video.